True horror stories. 5 unsettling tales of the supernatural.
1. The Cannibal Carnival. The night air was thick with the scent of cotton candy and popcorn as we entered the seemingly charming carnival on the outskirts of town. Its colorful lights beckoned us, promising a night of laughter and amusement. Little did we know the horrors that awaited us beneath the garish facade. Our group, a mix of friends and thrill-seekers, had come to experience the carnival's legendary attractions. We rode the Ferris wheel spun through the tilt-a-whirl and indulged in cotton candy spun so sweet it made our teeth ache. The carnival seemed like any other, until we stumbled upon a sinister tent hidden in the shadows. The sign above the tent bore a grotesque caricature of a carnival barker, his teeth sharp and his eyes predatory. It read, "The taste of terror. Feast your fears." Intrigued and driven by morbid curiosity, we paid the admission fee and stepped inside. The interior was dimly lit, adorned with macabre decorations that sent shivers down our spines. Ghoulish masks hung from the walls, and eerie paintings depicted nightmarish scenes of carnage and chaos. The air was thick with an unsettling aroma that we couldn't quite place. As we ventured further into the tent, we realized the true nature of the carnival's horrifying attraction. People, eerily silent and pallid, sat at long tables adorned with crimson tablecloths. On their plates lay cuts of meat, cooked to perfection, but something about them seemed off. Our hearts pounded as we pieced together the gruesome truth. The meat was human flesh. The carnival had been luring unsuspecting visitors to become unwitting participants in a grotesque feast of terror. Panic washed over us as we realized we were trapped inside the tent, surrounded by the cannibalistic patrons who were eyeing us with a hunger that went beyond the ordinary. We had to find a way out, to escape this nightmarish carnival before we became the next course. Desperation drove us to search for an exit. The carnival attendees had become aware of our discovery, and a malevolent air clung to them. Their eerie silence gave way to eerie whispers as they advanced upon us with a predatory gleam in their eyes. We stumbled upon a narrow corridor leading deeper into the tent, and without hesitation, we rushed through it. The passage twisted and turned, the walls closing in around us like the claustrophobic grip of death itself. The eerie decorations seemed to come to life, their twisted forms reaching out to ensnare us. We emerged into a grotesque chamber, the centerpiece of which was a massive cooking pot, simmering with a gruesome stew of body parts. The aroma was suffocating, the air heavy with the stench of death. Suddenly, the carnival barker's voice boomed from above, a sinister laughter accompanying his announcement. "Welcome to the Cannibal Carnival. You're the main course, and the show's about to begin." In a frantic rush, we scrambled to find an escape, our hearts pounding with terror. The chamber seemed inescapable, but desperation fueled our determination. We noticed a hidden door obscured behind the curtain, and without hesitation, we pushed through it. Outside, we found ourselves back in the midst of the carnival, but it had transformed into a nightmare. The once cheerful patrons had become a frenzied mob, their hunger for human flesh palpable. We ran, dodging carnival games and rides, desperate to escape the impending horror. Through a stroke of luck, we stumbled upon a dilapidated fence surrounding the carnival grounds. With every ounce of strength left in us, we climbed over it, leaving the madness behind. The distant sound of the carnival's twisted laughter and the echoing screams of its patrons filled our ears as we sprinted into the night. We had escaped the Cannibal Carnival, but the horrors of that night would forever haunt our nightmares. The carnival was a sinister trap, luring unsuspecting visitors into a grotesque feast of terror, where human flesh was the main course and escape was a matter of life and death. 2. The haunted subway. The subway had always been a place of mundane routine, a daily commute through dimly lit tunnels, surrounded by the drab and tired faces of fellow passengers. Little did I know that beneath the surface of the city's transit system lay a dark secret, waiting to be uncovered. It was a chilly evening when I found myself alone on a subway platform. The usual crowd had dispersed, leaving me as the sole traveler awaiting the next train. The distant rumble of an approaching subway car echoed through the tunnel, growing louder with each passing second. As the train pulled into the station, I boarded the nearly empty car, taking a seat by the window. The subway was eerily silent, its usual cacophony of chatter and clattering wheels absent. I could feel a sense of unease settling over me, a palpable tension in the air that I couldn't quite explain. The subway doors closed with a hiss, and the train lurched forward, descending deeper into the labyrinthine network of tunnels beneath the city. The familiar underground stations began to blur by, but something was different. Each one was named after a sin. Lust, envy, gluttony, wrath. The name sent a chill down my spine. I tried to dismiss it as a bizarre coincidence, but the sense of unease persisted. The subway car was now shrouded in a dim, ghostly light, and I felt a growing sensation of dread in the pit of my stomach. The train continued its descent, and the stations grew increasingly disturbing. Greed, sloth, pride. Each one brought a feeling of profound discomfort. I glanced around at my fellow passengers, but their faces were obscured by the shadows, their features impossible to discern. As the train approached the final station, a sinister voice crackled over the intercom, a voice that seemed to reverberate from the depths of the earth itself. "Welcome to the final stop," it intoned, "where you will face your sins." The subway car came to a sudden, roaring halt, and the lights flickered, plunging us into darkness. Panic surged through me as I realized I couldn't move, couldn't escape. The air grew thick and suffocating, and I could feel a malevolent presence surrounding me. Then it began. The subway car transformed into a nightmarish realm, a distorted reflection of reality. The walls closed in around me, the seats became grotesque. Writhing forms, and the windows revealed horrifying scenes of my own sins and transgressions. I was forced to confront my deepest fears and regrets, my darkest secrets laid bare for all to see. A malevolent presence seemed to feed on my terror, its sinister influence growing stronger with each passing moment. The subway car became a living nightmare, a relentless journey into the darkest recesses of my soul. I watched in horror as the faces of my fellow passengers contorted into grotesque, demonic forms, their laughter and whispers tormenting me. As the ordeal continued, I pleaded for release, for an end to the torment. But there was no escape from the haunted subway. It was a relentless journey through the depths of my own sins, a descent into madness that seemed to stretch into eternity. Finally, with a jolt, the subway car came to a halt, and the lights flickered back to life. I stumbled out onto the platform, my body trembling, my mind shattered. The other passengers were gone, and the station bore no trace of the horrors I had witnessed. I emerged from the subway, shaken and changed by the terrifying encounter. The haunted subway had forced me to confront my sins in a nightmarish journey of torment and despair. It was a place where the darkness of the human soul was laid bare, and the scars of the journey would forever haunt my nightmares. 3. The Dollhouse of Torment. The dollhouse had always been a curiosity in our family, a beautifully crafted miniature replica of our Victorian mansion. It had been passed down through generations, and we considered it a cherished heirloom. Little did we know that within its delicate walls lay a curse that would unravel our lives. My fascination with the dollhouse began innocently enough. I was drawn to its intricate details, the tiny furniture, and the miniature dolls that resembled our family members. It was like a reflection of our home, a quaint and charming version of our lives. But as the days turned into weeks, I began to notice something unsettling. The scenes within the dollhouse started to change, mirroring the events of our own lives. At first, it seemed like a mere coincidence, a doll appearing in a different room, furniture rearranged. But soon, the changes grew darker. One evening, I peered into the dollhouse and saw a miniature version of my mother, her face etched with fear, standing at the top of a tiny staircase. Beside her, a miniature doll that looked like my father was raising a hand as if to strike her. It was a chilling tableau, and I couldn't shake the feeling that it was a reflection of something sinister happening in our own home. As the days went by, the dollhouse scenes grew more malevolent. Miniature figures engaged in violent and horrifying acts. A tiny doll resembling my brother was shown wielding a knife, while a miniature version of my sister seemed trapped in a nightmarish room, surrounded by twisted furniture and shadows. The dollhouse's sinister transformations began to affect our real lives. Tensions in our family escalated, and arguments turned into violent outbursts. My parents, once loving and affectionate, seemed consumed by anger and paranoia. My brother's behavior grew erratic, and my sister withdrew into herself, our eyes haunted by an unseen terror. I couldn't escape the feeling that the dollhouse held the key to our family's torment. Each day, I found myself drawn to it, compelled to witness the horrors unfolding within its miniature walls. It was as if the curse that had befallen the dollhouse was infecting our very souls. Desperation gripped me as I tried to uncover the truth behind the cursed dollhouse. I began researching its history, searching for any clues that might explain its malevolent power. What I discovered was a tale of tragedy and suffering that stretched back generations, a curse passed down through our family's bloodline. I knew I had to break the curse, to free my family from the torment that had consumed us. With trembling hands, I approached the dollhouse. One final time, determined to confront the evil that lurked within. As I touched the delicate walls of the dollhouse, a blinding light filled the room, and I was transported into its miniature world. I stood among the tiny figures, witnessing their suffering and despair firsthand. But this time, I was not a passive observer. I was determined to end the curse. With a surge of determination, I began rearranging the miniature scenes, undoing the horrors that had plagued our family. The figure seemed to resist, the malevolent energy pushing back against me. But I refused to relent, and as I rearranged the final piece, a sense of peace washed over me. I found myself back in our real home, the dollhouse before me. The curse had been broken, and our lives slowly began to return to normal. The tensions and violence that had plagued our family began to subside, and the haunting scenes within the dollhouse remained frozen in time. The dollhouse of torment had been vanquished, but the scars it had left on our family would forever serve as a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk within even the most innocent of heirlooms. 4. The demon in the painting. I had always been drawn to the world of art, but it was on a fateful afternoon at a dusty, antique shop that I came across a painting that would change my life forever. The cursed masterpiece hung in the dimly lit corner of the shop, its ornate frame gleaming with an otherworldly aura. The image, a sinister depiction of a demonic figure with eyes that seemed to pierce my soul, both terrified and intrigued me. The shop owner, an elderly man with a twisted grin, told me that the painting had a dark history, one that had led to the demise of its previous owners. He warned me of the curse that clung to it, but I couldn't resist the lure of the sinister masterpiece. As I carried the painting to my car, I could feel an icy chill radiating from the canvas, sending shivers down my spine. I dismissed it as a mere trick of the mind, but the unease lingered. That night, as I hung the cursed painting in my art gallery, a sense of foreboding settled over me. I couldn't tear my eyes away from the demonic figure, its eyes seeming to follow me wherever I went. The darkness in the painting seemed to seep into the room, casting long, twisted shadows that danced on the walls. As the days passed, a series of strange and unsettling events began to unfold. Objects in my home moved on their own, and I would wake up to find myself covered in mysterious scratches and bruises. I dismissed it all as mere coincidence until the nightmares began. Each night, I would dream of the demon from the painting, a grotesque, shadowy figure that would torment me in the most horrifying ways. Its sinister laughter echoed in my ears, and I would wake up drenched in sweat, my heart pounding with terror. I realized that the curse of the painting was very real, and it was growing stronger with each passing day. The malevolent presence seemed to be seeping into my life, twisting my reality into a nightmarish existence. One evening, as I stood before the cursed painting, I felt a surge of anger and frustration building within me. The demon's eyes seemed to mock me, its grin growing wider and more sinister. In a fit of rage, I reached for a nearby candlestick and swung it at the painting, shattering the glass and tearing the canvas. But instead of banishing the curse, my actions unleashed the demon into our world. It emerged from the shattered remains of the painting, its form shifting and contorting as it materialized before me. Its eyes burned with a vengeful fury, and its twisted laughter filled the room. I tried to flee, but the demon was relentless, pursuing me with a malevolent determination. It whispered promises of torment and suffering, its voice a sinister chorus that echoed in my mind. I could feel its presence all around me, a suffocating darkness that threatened to consume my soul. Desperation drove me to seek help, but the demon's influence had already spread, corrupting those around me. Friends and family turned against me, their eyes filled with a malevolent gleam, and I realized that I was truly alone in my struggle against the vengeful demon. In a final act of desperation, I returned to the antique shop, seeking the guidance of the shop owner who had warned me of the painting's curse. He revealed the truth. The only way to banish the demon was to sacrifice my own soul in exchange for its return to the painting. With a heavy heart, I agreed to the grim bargain, knowing that it was the only way to end the nightmare. As the curse was lifted, the demon was sealed back into the painting, its eyes filled with a malevolent rage. I left the cursed masterpiece behind, knowing that it would find its way into the hands of another unsuspecting victim. The demon in the painting had been vanquished, but its dark legacy would forever haunt my nightmares, a chilling reminder of the malevolent forces that can be unleashed by the pursuit of art. 5. The Masked Masquerade. The invitation to the masked masquerade had arrived in an ornate envelope, adorned with intricate gold filigree. It promised an evening of extravagance and mystery, an event that was the talk of the town. Little did I know that beneath the allure of the masks lay a horrifying revelation of human nature. As I arrived at the grand mansion where the masquerade was to take place, I was struck by the opulence of the surroundings. Gilded chandeliers cast a soft, golden glow, and the marble floors reflected the shimmering gowns and tuxedos of the guests. The air was filled with the intoxicating scent of flowers and the soft strains of a string quartet. The masks worn by the guests were a work of art in themselves, elaborate and enigmatic. They concealed the faces of those in attendance. Each mask was unique, a reflection of the wearer's inner desires and secrets. As the night wore on, the atmosphere grew increasingly surreal. The guests danced with a fevered intensity, their masked faces hiding their true emotions. I mingled with the crowd, my curiosity piqued by the whispered rumors of the masks revealing one's true self. It was as the clock struck midnight that the atmosphere shifted. A hushed anticipation filled the room as a host took the center stage, announcing that it was time for the masks to reveal their secrets. At his signal, the guests removed their masks, and the true horror of the masquerade was unveiled. The faces that had been hidden behind those elegant masks were grotesque and nightmarish, twisted and contorted. They revealed the darkest desires and fears of the wearers. Some faces were contorted with rage, others with insatiable lust, and still, others with unspeakable horrors that sent shivers down my spine. I watched in horror as the true natures of the guests were laid bare. A woman whose mask had hinted at innocence now revealed a face twisted with sadistic glee. A man who had appeared charming and charismatic now showed the countenance of a remorseless murderer. The room descended into chaos as the true selves of the guests were revealed. Panic and terror swept through the crowd as the masks continued to unveil the horrors lurking within. It was as if the mansion itself had become a nightmarish carnival of human depravity. I tried to escape the madness, but the revelers were consumed by their own monstrous selves. The string quartet's music turned discordant, and the grand chandeliers swayed ominously overhead. The elegant mansion had transformed into a house of horrors. Desperation drove me to seek refuge in a hidden alcove, away from the madness that had consumed the masquerade. I watched in horror as the guests tore into each other, their true natures unleashed in a frenzy of violence and madness. Hours later, as the first light of dawn began to filter through the windows, the madness had subsided. The grand mansion was now a scene of devastation, its opulence marred by the carnage that had unfolded. I stumbled out of the mansion, my mind reeling from the horrors I had witnessed. The masked masquerade had revealed the darkest depths of human nature, a chilling reminder that behind the masks we wear in society, our true selves may be far more horrifying than we dare to imagine. Which story caught your attention the most? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. Until next time, stay safe. And thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Check out my website in the description below to see what I'm writing. And just below there's some suggestions related to what we talked about today. Peace.